Hello and welcome once again to Probable Magic. This is episode number 36. We are going to be drafting tonight. You see that we are not in a draft queue yet because I'm going to talk for a few minutes first. In my previous episodes, so I've done 5 thorough drafts to date, and I did make a commitment in the last episode that after I did 5 Theros Draft Swiss, I would choose the format for my 6th draft based on the model I've been putting together for total expected value. I'm not committing to do this for every draft from here on out because we're still refining the model, looking at things. I did commit for draft number 6 to do this. So let's take a look. This is the expected card value graph that I've been keeping. We see Theros here continuing to drop, although slower than I would have guessed. Still a nice card value. Ravnica, Return to Ravnica, that is, making a nice little climb there, which is interesting. A lot is me building up my own personal data and experience. I am kind of expecting these older formats, this Ravnica block, to go up in card value a little bit as it gets a little further removed from the time that it was more actively drafting, and people want some of those cards as they kind of become more applicable to new standard decks. And I have made far from a big study on this. I spent about 2 minutes updating the card prices, but what I was kind of informally noticing is I've heard in some of the draft videos and podcasts I've listened to lately that mono black devotion is kind of an in thing in standard right now, and in the Ravnica block I feel like there has been some sharp rise in a couple good mono black cards. There's one. Pack Rat was hanging at 5 cents for quite a while, up to $2 today. These are all buy prices, by the way. So Pack Rat seeming to be coming back there. Look, here's a good jump in Underworld Connections. A triple black enchantment that will sit on the battlefield. Great for a devotion to black deck. In Gatecrash, which did not see that same rise overall, but look at Nightveil Spectre, one of my favorite cards. Was for quite a while in this 15, 20 cents, I guess up to 40 cents range for a while. It's been trending upward. Today just shy of $4. So I guess what I'm suggesting is, as people are wanting to get into this mono black deck, some of these older mono black cards jumping in value. But let's look at our total expected value. This is based on models I've been putting together in previous episodes, and look at our draft options. So as we were just talking about expected card value, we see that best value is for Theros, M14, not too far behind, and then Ravnica block. Hoping longer term to see this come up a little more, because I definitely want to do some more return to Ravnica block drafts. We'll probably do some more regardless of whether this comes up, but sure would be nice to see that come up. But for the moment, we're still kind of focused on Theros. And then as far as expected prize value within Theros, the best expected prize value being 8-4, giving Theros 8-4 draft the best total expected value for me tonight. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, I know a lot of people look at win percentages, or at least I've been coming to realize that many people look at win percentages just in terms of, did I come in first place in the draft overall? And if you're looking at it in that way, if you've been watching my five previous Theros drafts, you'd say, why are you doing an 8-4? Because of my 5 drafts, I have won first place once. 1 out of 5. That's 20%. And if you're using that off-cited rule of thumb, under 50% draft Swiss, over 50% draft 8-4. You'd say at 20% you should be well in the Swiss range. But I've started looking at this differently. I'm looking at it round by round, and my track record in Theros, the 5 drafts to date, has been very good for round 1. Actually, I've won round 1 all 5 times. I've won round 2 3 out of 5 times. And then I went on to win round 3 only the 1 time. But as I was talking about a couple episodes back, where I talked about that article, Friends Don't Let Friends 4322, I'm really starting to look at this differently. In fact, a bit of an oversimplification, but I'm starting to look at this a little more that whether or not you win round 3 is kind of the least important. The far more important is how you do in rounds 1 and 2. Now, you may recognize this chart from our discussion on that article. I've cleaned it up a little bit, and I want to show you what I'm talking about. So in round 1, we can either win or lose. And if our win percentage is high enough in round 1, and you can decide what that is. I kind of think of it as better than 50%, but decide on your comfort level, if that 50% or 60%, or in M14, when I was looking at it a few episodes back, I was saying my win percentage in round 1 was 70%. If your win percent in round 1 is high enough that you feel you're going to win round 1 the majority of the time, you're saying basically you're not going to be in this bottom bracket, the green shaded cells here, by the way, apply only to Swiss. If you're in a single elimination format, once you lose, you're out. In Swiss, you can lose and still get to play again. Say, if I win the majority of the time in round 1, I shouldn't even really be looking at this. Now this whole discussion here is a simplification. We did the math more rigorously in the chart. Here, I didn't throw out those Swiss games when I came up with these win percentages, but as a simplification. So start off from the assumption that you know nothing, you're going to play Swiss, right? That's a pretty safe assumption. That's what most of us do. If you feel you're going to win round 1 the majority of the time, throw all this out. And now you're really looking at this. And you say, I'm winning round 1 most of the time, and my track record in Theros to date is 5 out of 5, winning round 1. Would I rather be in this column, where I can win 1 to 3 packs? Would I rather be in this column, where I could win 2 to 4 packs? I know that I'd rather be in this 4-3-2-2 column. I would rather, because I'm getting at least 2. And I've got the upside to get to 4. If I'm pretty sure that I'm making it past round 1, 4-3-2-2 looks better than Swiss. Now I want to look at round 2. Now, do I think that I'm winning round 2 the majority of the time? If so, then I'm kind of throwing out all this. And now you're saying, looking at these two, if I'm pretty confident that I'm winning round 1 the majority of the time and winning round 2 the majority of the time, which column would I rather be in? Well, it's 8-4 hands down, because 4 or 8 is better than 3 or 4. And if you approach it that way, then really what you do in round 3, whether or not you win the 4 or the 8, is as good or twice as good as the 4-3-2-2. It almost doesn't matter. So that's very informal, but just how I'm starting to think about some of this. So for Theros, where are we? Here we are. I played 5 drafts. I have won round 1 5 out of 5 times. It's 100%. I know 100% is not fully accurate. It's you can't take this and say I have a 100% chance of winning round 1, because that's not true. I could get mana problems or bad draws or whatever, but my track record to date has been 100%. So I'm pretty confident I'm making it past round 1, or that I have a good chance of making it past round 1 is more accurate to say. So already I'm looking at 4-3-2-2 or Swiss. Now in round 2, I have made it through round 2 onto round 3 3 out of 5 times. And I say made it, that's these were Swisses, so I would have played round 3 regardless, but I think you know what I meant, that I won round 1 and then won round 2 is what I mean when I say I made it. So 3 out of 5 times I've then gone on to round 3, in the Swiss Championship, as I call it sometimes. So not as good, but still seems like the majority of the time I've made it on to round 3. Now, if that's the case, it almost doesn't matter how I do in round 3. And I've only won 1 out of 3 times in round 3. So, by this method, I've got the highest total expected value doing an 8-4, even though I've only won 1 time. I could be way off base. I'm certainly a little nervous about doing an 8-4, but I also recognize that if I just keep doing Swiss all the time, I'm going to be on the slow bleed, forever. I want to move up, and the nice thing about doing a percentage-based system like this is it's self-correcting. If I do an 8-4 tonight and get blown out in round 1, well, my round 1 numbers are going to drop, and that's going to pull me back towards doing a Swiss or a 4-3-2-2, and maybe not pull me back all the way. The numbers could still very well say for my next time I still have the highest total expected value doing an 8-4, but the margin won't be as big, and that makes sense because when you look at expected values like this, what you're really looking at is the average performance over a large number of times. So you try to draw those conclusions from just one time, and you have one loss, it's not going to immediately throw you back into another case. So we're going to try out this model, trusting its results, and see where that takes us. Now, as far as expectations, I know that I may not have the greatest chance of winning. Also, I'm curious to see, I could get a higher expected card value off of this, because my impression anyway is that 8-4 players are more likely to pass higher value cards that won't make their deck. You've seen a lot of my Swiss videos where I'm very often, pulling up my spreadsheet and checking the value of rares and seeing if I want to consider taking those just based on value, regardless of whether or not they go in my deck. Everyone draws their line for where to consider that a little differently, and I think in 8-4 drafts, people tend to draw that line much higher than in a Swiss. I haven't fully decided where I'm going to draw that myself. Probably around 3 to 4 tickets, because that represents a booster. So, but we'll see. I may see something and have trouble resisting taking it. But that's an interesting point, that if you go into a draft and you are drafting solely for card value, you're doing the draft just to try to pick up the most value you can out of rare drafting, and then seeing how you could do, I wonder if it's not better to do that in an 8-4, because those cards aren't going to go all the way around the table, but in a Swiss, to get a card that's worth more than 4 or 5 tickets, you almost certainly have to open it yourself. Whereas in videos I've seen of 8-4s, it seems like those cards can sometimes make it at least 2 or 3 seats down the table. So if you were approaching that of just sitting there and picking the highest value cards, it would be interesting to try that in an 8-4 instead of a Swiss. Not what we're going to be doing tonight, but just thinking about that. So I need to try to rein myself in and focus a little bit more on the deck and a little bit less on the card value. So I've rambled long enough. We are going to get into this thing. I didn't intend to talk 20 minutes, so I am going to stop the video and start up a new one so that folks who only want to see the draft and aren't so interested in this discussion don't have to sit through it. But hope it meant something to you. If so, love to hear your comments, and hope to see you in a few minutes for our first Theros 8-4.